We are the promised people. We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people. Yes, so welcome to the promised land.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Breaking the Trance Sourcecast, episode 14. We're super happy to have you here with us, whether this is your first encounter or you've seen a few of our shows. We're very grateful for you joining with us as we discussed last time in episode 13, where the how-to question, where, we've gotten some feedback where it sounds like you guys are saying a lot of things and it sounds great and everything, but how do you do it, right? And we're saying, how you do it is participate, listen, join us. Try not to put it in the same mindset as we usually think of how to, getting from where I am now to where I want to be, and I'm going to take these steps. That's a very, we're suggesting more of an old school kind of approach to this learning. You can't apply that to this learning process. This learning process has to do with staying with us and realizing that if you participate, as in listen and listen deeply, you'll notice that over time you'll start to make the connections deeper and deeper all the time. So the how-to is stay with us, keep listening, and we thank you for staying with us. For those of you who are on the audio and listening to this right now, just remember that this was originally meant to be a visual presentation and a visual source cast. So if you want to get the full experience, we invite you to join us on our YouTube channel, Source Media Network, and then you can watch us and get some of that extra boost of understanding by way of seeing the visuals. So I just wanted to say that again. But wherever you are, if you're listening, you're watching, we thank you. Join us as we continue on episode 14. And 14, we have been thinking about this topic, this area of focus for a while now, and it finally feels time to bring in this very deep subject. We have mentioned that things about how it can be scary to break the trance. We've mentioned how it can be intimidating. Something deep in us has to let go. Something deep in us has to get kind of humble. The inner control trip that we don't even always know that we have, that wants to keep things in the single bracket space, that wants to keep things in the place where you can wrap your head around it. That gives us a sense of comfort and control when all of wisdom is asking us to unwrap our heads around it, right? But we're suggesting that there's something really scary about that. And there's it's not scary like, oh, I'm scared of this or that happening, like that kind of scared. It's more of a deep unease of being disoriented, right? As you're getting dislodged from your normal orientation and how you roll. So it's you could say it's unnerving. You could say it's unfamiliar, and all of the process of going into the zone, the process of breaking the trance is a process of being, really courageous in a way. And there's a number of ways that this, the phobia, the deep phobia, or even terror that we have of this process manifests. One of the symptoms that we've noticed again and again in our culture is our it's a double-edged sword, or it's two sides of the same coin. But there's a deep fear of unity, unity in the single bracket sense, meaning that unity that does away with difference, right? So if there's unity, if we're all one, well, are we all the same? Do I have to let go of my individuality and my uniqueness to be one with everyone else? And we get really spooked by even the mere mention of, say, a global one world order kind of thought, because we innately know, wait, what does that mean for me? I'm different. Am I going to lose my individuality? Am I going to lose my freedom? So it's kind of like a fear of heteronomy, the law being imposed upon us by someone else's ideology or worldview, and we're rightfully opposed to that. And then the flip side of it, there's diversity phobia or difference phobia. We're afraid of what's different from us, what we don't understand, what's alien to us. Hence, things like what we call xenophobia, or any kind of version of racism or homophobia, or any kind of the phobias that we have that have to do with the difference, right? Well, we want to point out that this is on a deeper level. It's a fear of reality. It's a fear of reality in the deepest sense, which challenges all of those worldviews. It challenges, what it really does challenge is our control trip of wanting to contain and dictate the narrative of what reality is, whether that's religious or scientific, atheist, Gnostic, whatever, take your pick, eclectic blend of all of those. We're all participating in this need to kind of silo reality. This is what reality is. Science is, I would say, as much as I revere science, I'd say is one of the guiltiest ones because because we can see how the universe works, we've got dibs on the narrative of reality and everyone else is delusional, right? So reality, science is reality. Science equals reality, right? We're suggesting that even science is caught in that lack of self-awareness, lack of sensitivity, in that even science can become an ideology and a mode of power tripping on what reality is. In other words, across the board, and all the wisdom teachings in one way, shape, or form are asking us to die before you die or to surrender to something higher, right? What is that? Why are we so spooked by it? Why is it scary to get out of the cave? Why is it scary to break the trance? So we're going to get into the deep science of that. And I just wanted to open up, as I see today's theme that we're going to be surfing. But I would love, as always, for you, Pops, to give us your thoughts on this.
Näthan, you framed it beautifully. You summed up a lot, and whoever is joining us in our conversation, our dialogue, one of the things you brought out that's so important, the how-to question. We want to tell me here, if we want to get into the zone of reality, deeper encounter with reality, and step back from how we make our lives and our culture and our human relationships and ourselves in this information industrial complex. We're all, for millennia, we humans have been humaning here, making our lives, our cultures, our religions, our politics, everything in this space. And we didn't pay attention to what's the software that's allowing us, giving us the gift and power to have information and narratives and scriptures and disciplines and the liberal arts and sciences and art and all of this here. And we don't realize that something is deeply embedded that's really making it possible to have that. There's a technology that we're using to make our narratives and our worlds here. And so every word we use in this linguistic space is called the binary logic, where this is binary software. So both sides of the opposite, identity or difference. If A is A, if I am I, and A is A, that's the software we're using. A thing is what it is, A is A. Then I am me. I got my ID. I'm unique. I'm individual. I'm separate, and I'm not going to give that up because my will.
If I may interject, I want to. The A is A, or like you said, I is I, me is me. That is very, very important thing to understand in terms of understanding the trance and the software you keep referring to. Can you unpack that for us?
Well, yes, there's an ancient law of reason of what makes language and a world, reason and experience possible. For example, Aristotle, the founder of logic of the European tradition, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, trying to understand the software of being a rational being. What is the ultimate axiom of thought and reason and language and meaning? The hypothesis with the ultimate axiom is the axiom A is A. A thing is what it is. And that principle, the law of identity, has a lot of information in it. A is A means to purchase A, you have to displace it from what is not A. So A is a binary. It has A and not A, I and not I, the subject and the object, unity and diversity, is and isn't. And that's a binary. Mm-hmm. So opposites are born with that simple principle of identity, spawns the principle of identity and diversity, that split. So unity and diversity are opposites, but they're in the same code, because the red code is marking that axiom that it makes our lives work, because that's how we start to get language. We can name things, and when we name something, if it was fluctuating all over the place and wasn't fixed with an identity, we couldn't say sun is shining. You know, I am a male, or I'm a citizen, or the stone is hot, or anything like that. You have to have fixity for it. So it's an important principle. It was a great, that's an ultimate principle. It's the first principle of logic and being, reality. Cannot violate the law of a thing cannot be and not be. It cannot be red and not red. It cannot be moving and not moving. It cannot be one and different at the same time. So it's a split between unity or diversity. I hope that helps now to really
Big time. I think this is.
But this is not just Western. That's across the human. That comes with the technology of using language and making a life and having experience and a world and meaning and truth and sentences, a picture of facts that are fixed. There's got to be some kind of fixity.
Yes.
And you can, units. They're units. And the units, like, I'm a unit, and everything else that's not me. The pen is a unit. The event is a unit. An event can be a unit too. A culture can be a unit, right? I am so and so. A religion can be a unit. It's the scale at any level, not just things. And that's called an atomic principle. The atom is something that it has an identity in itself and it's existing in itself, and that makes it fixed. And we're able to talk and have fixed meanings and language. I hope that helps.
Yes, and you've used the word Lego. I had a friend who recently said, "What's the Lego thing about?" Well, this is what the Lego thing about Legos for a second. I'm just going to interject this for a second. A Lego is a little piece that you've played with Legos before, but you can connect them, but they're inherently separate and breakable. So we're living in a kind of Lego software.
Right, the metaphor of a Lego, for people who know the Lego toys, and I think it's around the world now. We're trusting people around the world. Yeah. This is not just American culture. We're talking to all people across the planet. A Lego unit is a unit. And what's a big deal? Because a unit, I'm a unit by myself. I think I've got my own, I got my own existence, right? And everything has its own intrinsic existence. It is what it is. And that's a very compelling thing to believe in. We're not crazy. That's important. But our great first teachers realized that as strong as that alleged axiom, A is A, and everything has its own being within it. Buddha, for example, when he became enlightened, saw that you're not a separate unit. You're not a Lego entity by yourself. Nothing can exist by itself outside of the unifying force of reality, which is infinitely unified. There's the unum up here, infinite unity. And that unity in this language, going from this derivative language, A is A, to know A is A, that's a different principle. And all of our great first responders, and again, I hope anyone who's joining us, this is number 14, but they're not silo 40. Is that 1? Done. 2? Done. 3? Done.
They're not Lego episodes, yeah.
They're not Lego episodes. But that's what we do in our global marketplace and in our cultural space. Everything is in silos. Where do the silos come from? I'm a scientist. I'm religious. I'm a citizen. Here's Hinduism. Here's Buddhism. Here's Descartes. Here's Spinoza. Here's Lao Tzu. And here's Judaism. Here, all our religions are put in their identities.
There's science. Yeah.
The science is another, narrative space. It has a community of participants in the scientific community, which has diversity within it, right? You can have paradigm shifts and disagreements about hypotheses about the world, about nature, understood here. But this is what's operating and running the show.
Exactly.
And our great first teacher says, don't be stalled here, because why? Because there are no Lego units in the universe. There are no units like that in the universe, the unumverse. So what we have to do in our conversation now is rehearse why. So you beautifully said that there's a fear of unity, and yet that seems to be one of the greatest objectives. We are one people. Imagine and say, let's use the USA lab as an example, but it's for all people around the planet, right? That if we are multicultural, that means there are multiple narratives, multiple identities, multiple ASAs. So my ASA is different from your ASA, right? And we have different silos, right? And if we have multi-worlds, multi-disciplines, multi-narratives going on in our informationalized space, then and each has its own meaning within it. The language in scientific discourse It's not the same as, with Big Bang, for example. It's not the same as religious, Judaic, the Christian, the Muslim, for example, Hindu, Buddhist, all of these different other, they're all stories and they're in silos. And to silo is to silence. This is the biggest point ever. Because what we've been saying in all of our episodes, and number 14, this one, is a continuum. That means you can't silo. You can't silo episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14. They're all one arising continuum. That means here we have discontinuum fragments of units, of narratives, of disciplines, of religions, of scriptures, of all of the arts and sciences, all here in the silo maker. It shreds. Mm-hmm. And that's a trance. That's a trance. This is a trancer. And it's a shredder. It creates units and polarity and diversity and fragments. And that cannot connect because the connector is here. Why? And I would like to hold off on this for a moment until we are comfortable. We don't want to go too fast. I want to slow down now. That the great first teachers who are saying something deep is calling us. And in the Greek, birth of Greek philosophy, it's the logos, the light of reason, the infinite source, the form of all forms, the word of all words. That's the logos. And the Judaic, Yahweh, infinite source, infinite spirit, the infinite creator, the sustainer of the universe, right? It's infinitely one. Or is it God? Or is it Allah? Or going east, is it Om? Is it Brahman? Is it Buddha's place of emptiness or zero, shunyata? Because you can't import Lego pieces. They won't survive crossing into here. They burn up. These Lego units, when you go into the continuum, it's so profound. The science here is so profound. That's source science. That's reality.
That's reality.
So the great first responders who were trying to get here, but we kept them in silos and that silenced them. Because here's the point, when you realize, oh damn, the infinite is infinitely one. Why? Because you can't have two infinites. It's infinitely one. But is there diversity in the universe? Of course. How much? Infinite. So the unum is pluribus equals pluribus. Unum equals pluribus. That's a deeper software.
And tell us about the history of pluribus unum for a second, for those of people who are not familiar with the Latin.
That's it's not just it's east and west. I mean, Om is unum, mm-hmm. right? Brahman is one. I mean, it's just echoes. It's a principle. But if we again borrow from the USA situation, mm-hmm. right? Not again to privilege the USA, but the mantra of the founding of the United States of diversity, the United States or the United Nations, all this word united here, when the silo cannot unite. We need a more perfect unity. Mm-hmm. And what's that? That's going into the dialogue, interconnected continuum flow, where there's deepest diversity imaginable, but yet held together with the infinite unum. So unum equals pluribus. And in the Americans, in the American mantra, to realize how do we find the place of united people, of diversity united? E pluribus unum is a mantra. Using the Latin. Why use the Latin and say unum pluribus? Because unum suggests a deeper meaning of unity, not just ordinary unity.
So the translation, language. Really quick translation for e pluribus unum means in the many one. So pluribus is many?
Yes, e pluribus, from the many, one. Out of the many, one. E pluribus unum, many. So if there are many cultures, many religions, many worldviews, many disciplines, out of the diversity, mm-hmm. there is a unity, right? So the call to the United States of America, e pluribus unum, is not here. Unum is not here, as we've seen in that laboratory of USA, 250 years, and we're more divided than ever. Mm-hmm. It's fragmented. Mm-hmm. And if it's a kind of a mini micro lab for the whole planet of multicultural for all across the planet, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, all of these things, then and multi-narratives. How do you find unity if they're in silos and they're all Lego units separate? They can't connect because we have to use our will, and so that's why we have the phobia. Letting go of my will and my story is the risk of having someone else's story dominate my mind and my will and my control. And I'm not going to do that. No way, Jose. Okay? I'm not going to do that. I don't mean to mention Jose. I'm just using that familiar colloquial idiom. No way am I going to give up my control of my story and have someone hetero impose their narrative on me, because every narrative here is an ideology. It's a belief system. Why is it an ideology rather than knowledge and science? Because it's my will that subscribes to it. I am a Christian. I am a scientist. I am a citizen. I am whatever. I'm subscribing. I'm underwriting my belief system. It's my will. But the cross here, you can't impose your will here. You've got to step back from what we can't see, the trance. We're entranced, all of us. And to the great first teachers saying, this place is not a place of unity or diversity. Difference here or unity are both corrupt because of the malware of separate units and silos and brokenness and monologue, not dialogue. Dialogue is when you enter into the deeper space, in the zone, let's say. The use of when the athlete or the musical performer gets to become the music or become the running, I be running. You are not talking about it. You're not in the Lego space. You're in the flow. You're surfing. You're unified. That's with true individuality, because the individual here is anemic. It's not true individuality. It's based upon your informationized version of yourself, right? And so to give up your familiar narrative and to give up your will is a terror.
That version of you.
It feels like you're giving yourself up. But in fact, the great teachers are saying you have to surrender that superficial version of yourself.
Yes.
To dare to cross into the depth of presence and become mindful. Because here, when you're minding and using reason, you're still under the sway and colonized by that axiom that makes the game work. But that axiom has tremendous side effects that are devastating to the human flourishing here. And we're seeing across the planet in the human condition, over the last 2,500 years, the most profound violence and breakdown and failure to find unity and dialogue across borders because of the fear of unity and diversity. You said it beautifully. The irony is that if I subscribe to United States and we're one nation under God, indivisible, is it a Christian country? Is it a Judeo? How about Chinese culture? How about African people? How about people who are not religious? What is going to dominate my life and my will? If we're one nation under whatever the principle, unifying principle is, I don't want unity.
Yeah.
And yet we're the United States of America in that case. But then I don't, but unity sounds like I have to, it's a melting pot. Diversity has to melt and give away your diversity. Well, I'm not going to give up my individuality. I'm preserving who I am and my will and my freedom. I will not compromise it to some other narrative or ideology or whatever it is, or even the Constitution controlling my will. I'm not going to surrender to something, a unifying principle here. Because unity here is not able to accommodate diversity, but diversity here is fragments into separate pieces and can't connect. So our options in this world is unity or diversity. If there is no unity that I can live with, because I want nothing, melting me down into some and giving up my uniqueness, then I'm going to go for diversity. And what is that? Fragmentation of Lego pieces all over the place and not able to connect in unity. So it's a war between unity and diversity. But here's the point. A great teacher said, no, Christ, love yourself and other. To love yourself is to become yourself. Or Socrates, leave the caves and enter the logos. Leave this ego tripping and come into the Om, yoga, be a yogi. Leave this place of Lego entities and pieces. You're not a separate entity. Buddha would say, come into the flow where everything is connected in a continuum. That's the unum pluribus. And here it's not unum or diversity. It's a higher form of intelligence. The unum here requires letting go of this. And the unum here is where you're interwoven with nature. It's not just with other people. You're intimate with the source. The blue zone is the infinite source field, the basic field, the source field. That's source science. And here you can't have science and truth, because is science giving the truth? But that's one narrative amongst others. So right here, any narrative that's given is going to be opinionation. It's going to be opinion. Which one? Are you going to vote yes on it or no? Christianity, do I say yes or no? Atheism, yes or no? Big Bang, yes or no? Medical, allopathic medicines, yes or no? Vaccines or not vaccines? Mask or no mask? Science or no science? Vote on it. So the deep problem for all people across the planet, and this is really this gives us a deeper medicine. And it's really our great first teachers in scriptures. All of them are trying to help people migrate and immigrate from entrapment and from slavery into the place of freedom.
Which I think we're deeply unnerved by, to my original point, and I wanted to just say really quick, because you're saying it's a higher intelligence, and I absolutely agree with that. The only thing about that verbiage is that sometimes that makes it sound like it's more sophisticated or cerebral or intellectual, but actually it's more native.
Go for it. This is important. This is very important.
Yes.
Yoga too. When we teach yoga, find your body. It's embodiment.
Yes.
But when you realize this body is not your primary body, and this mental work is not, when you get them, then it's most practical. You've said this in the last episode. This is a how-to practice. And by the way, just pause. What's the how-to going on here? We're not trying to give people follow these rules on how to, and you will get here. No, we're saying join us in this dialogue between this code, this software, and this sourceware. And by hearing it activated by us, we're activating it. That's why this is a source cast, not a podcast. Here, what media are you in? Derivative media. This is not going to help you get there. We need a deeper media. What's that? Source media. That's our source media network.
We were talking on a phone conversation a day or two ago, and we were talking about how the double brackets and the single brackets are not just two-dimensional markings on a two-dimensional page, but actually a technology that when you see it and expose yourself to it, it's actually doing. It's not about. These are not markings about the infinite. Double brackets is enforcing that infinite is infinitely holding us all the time, like it or not. That's reality, in other words. Reality is holding us, but we're not able to experience that, which is what true well-being is. Why? Because of the deeply embedded malware that's in us, and the how-to is see it. Pull it out from behind your eyes. See it. That's the how-to. That's what we're continuously doing. And it's not that we're going to some way up there intelligence. What I want to say is you're coming home.
It's our intelligence. It's not higher. Just because you're, the infant and the adolescent and the adult, you're growing, and the educated and uneducated, and so literacy, right? It's higher. It's not higher in the sense of foreign to us. It's who we are.
It's who we are.
This is who we are.
Yeah.
That's where you find abysmally deep individuality in the universe. And you say every snowflake is unique, every grain of sand. No, you're not level down. You're going to be scared to be in the zone. A PowerPoint in this field, in the logosphere, in the source sphere.
Yeah.
Because it's infinite. And it has a strange logic. Not like here. It's not a binary logic. It's a fractal, which means what? Every point connects with every other point. And you can't break free from it. You don't want to. That's the surfing in the zone. That's why it's nirvana.
Right.
Because when you be here, it's bliss. It's contentment. It's flow. It's sacred space. This is desecrated. This is sacred.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's what it's a call to dare to be. And what do you say? Mindfulness is critical thinking. A rational being is a critical thinker. Why? You don't just think and buy into, you're born into the culture that teaches you, you're born into Aze, you're born into the red zone. Your culture, your religion, your science, your education, your human relations, your parenting, all here.
Yeah.
But how do you step back and mind your minding? That's becoming mindful. So the art of becoming a mature human being is to become mindful. That means intelligent. Mind your minding. Don't just mind and buy into it, but mind your minding. So ask, Everyone should pause and say, is a software allowing me to have my life and me and my identity? Have you ever asked that question deeply? That's philosophy, that's wisdom.
That's breaking the trance.
Right. And the point you're making is that language here is flat line. Every sign here is a sign about. But when you cross into the primary language, right, and that's what the hologram is doing, you're stepping into a deeper form of notation. The signs here and the words here cannot be put flat. It really is a holographic, where you are wording. The word is living. You have to speak a different language. When you say I am, you're amming. When you're running, you be the running. When you're making music in the zone, you are the music. When you speak here, you're not representing and talking about it. You're presenting. So when you have someone like Jesus saying, I am the way, that means he's coding. Christ is a code.
Yeah, he's not speaking information. He's not speaking
information.
Language.
And if you try to give the Gospels here, which we do, gospel truth, well, that's your opinion. Because everything here is opinion. Well, it comes down to my voted on. I choose the Gospels. I say yes to the Gospels by my will. No, you've got to surrender your control trip. That's the point you made in number 13. In order to get real control, which is not, I'm not deciding the river flow. I'm not deciding the ocean waves. I'm surfing it now.
Yeah.
And when you do that, that's freedom.
And it's interesting that what keeps on coming up is that what we want more than anything, if you're using the word nirvana or bliss or happiness or whatever that is, in that liberated self, our true self, what keeps on coming up is that what we want most, which is that bliss, we're also the most intimidated by. Something in us is afraid of that. It's something
almost terrorized. There's a terror of trying to step back from this.
Yeah.
Because
that's important to see.
Yeah, it's very important.
Because if you can see it, ironically, that's what makes it more of a safe sojourn to the source, to the zone.
Right. Because this is insecure. This is insecure.
Exactly.
This line is very important. The A is A intrinsically by purchasing identity and Lego pieces cuts you off and us off and everyone, all the humans in this technology cuts you off. It's an invisible ceiling that cuts us off from flow, from connectivity, from intimacy. That's the I-thou flow, the dialogic pulse of reality. So what's the law of reality here? Unum pluribus. It's not unum first and then pluribus. Unum is pluribus. That's the fabric of reality. That's why you would say there's God in every person. It's God infinite in a grain of sand. Eternity in an hour. Every point here, you can't break a piece of the source off. And the logic, the science here. And this is a question to science. Have scientists taken the critical turn and asked, what is the logic, the mindware, the software that's allowing me to have my hypothesis and do my testing and have my empirical experience and have my truth and finding and revision, all great stuff. The scientific method is fantastic. To have a dialogue with nature and get the feedback and to check and change your story and change your paradigm and have paradigm shifts from Newton to Einstein and beyond, from the genetics to epigenetics. All of these shifts can take place here. But have we asked the question deeply, really? And the greatest minds are able to see, wow, check out the software. They didn't have the language to say it.
Right.
They didn't have the code. They didn't have the markers. This is new. We're daring to say now, after all of these 2,500 years of first science seeking for, we didn't have the differential between this language and this language. They were conflated. So remove the red, remove the blue, and that's what you got. And now bring all of these things that we're making. Bring unity and diversity. Bring e pluribus in them here. Bring it down here. It's not going to work.
And that's where we are. It's just one language. And, I mean, obviously there's many different languages, but in terms of language itself is just in the zone of information. That's all there is. So if it doesn't matter if Jesus and Buddha is speaking or, any one of us, where it's all in the same space. It's all, like you said, flatlined. It's all flat landed. It's all smushed into the same zone.
Flat worded, yes. But the point you're making is all notations are not alike. This was like the greatest breakthrough. When you see this hologram, it means this level of signs refer, picture, and depict, and have meaning. Whether it's how you use a word in a context that gives a meaning, or it's a picturing, or whatever it is.
The finger pointing at the moon.
That's for
as
example,
they say.
right? The sentence pointing to the fact. The sun is shining if the sun is shining. It's a fact. This is pointing language.
Yeah.
That's signs. Signs point. They're signifiers, right? But when you're in this language, it's no longer about. It's being. The language, also the words come to life. Source words are holographic living signs.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the blue zone, the blue code shift, is for the first time in history, is to say, oh, damn, I thought all notations were alike. So if anyone wants to take the double bracket language and put it here, and download it here, you're blowing it.
Including especially yourself. Your name can be a label, a Lego label, or your name can be a resonance of
or you can be
presence.
Right. Your pronoun can be a pronoun referring to your information bundle, or you're saying I am here, beyond the pronoun here. When you are pronominal, you're saying I am is being I am. When you're minding I am in this language, it's off the flat line. It is performative now. It's double bracket performance. You're Zen. You're Zen. You're minding. You're being. You're surfing. You're zoning. It's a good metaphor. When you're zoning, you're not talking about it. When you're soccering, you're being the soccer. Right? When you're dancing, you are the dance. When you're musicking or singing, you are the song. It's weird language. And the other is there otherness. Now here's a point. Come back to the original point you opened up. There is otherness, abysmal otherness here, alterity, diversity, an abysmal unity here, but not like this unity or diversity that splits. So when you have a more perfect unum, therefore a more perfect pluribus, a miracle of human space, of sacred space opens up that we never had before. That in my stepping into my deepest individuality and uniqueness and flourishing and creativity, amongst everything else, you can't level the field with me. It's not a melting pot. It's the opposite. I'm unique and individual and yet connected. So there's otherness. There is diversity in unity and unity in diversity, without the fears and compromises that we have here. And the ones who fear unity, whose unity? I don't want one world government, for example, to impose on me, the heteronomy on me. No way. Why? But there is one world government here already. This is the irony now.
Yeah.
The code has got you, all of us. We're in one world codation. We're coded.
It's the matrix. That's the real matrix.
That's the matrix. And we're living in it and we don't see it. And it's governing us. So
even while we have intramural wars, in a way, we're all participating in the same game.
Intramural. Here's a mural. Here's a wall. An intramural opposition and battles and culture wars and ideology battles, religious wars and gender wars. All of the wars, all of the polarities, all of the different culture wars are still in the same boat. Which is one of our earlier episodes. This is a Titanic. And it's been diagnosed by our first teachers for millennia, but we haven't been able to make the shift. We didn't see that the voice here, the language and voice speaking to us here, we download it to our terms. It's lost in translation.
It gets flatlined.
And so we remain, and the virus worsens. The malware.
That's the mind virus.
That's the mind virus. Yes,
because that phrase has been being used usually in the woke mind virus or so. But this is the mind virus, the universal mind virus. That's every culture, every political party, every gender, it's got us all, right? That's the truth.
Everyone's here. No one's excluded. And this is important.
Yeah.
May I just say this, please?
Yes, please.
Everyone. This is going to create terror, and a lot of people are going to throw stones and eggs and tomatoes at me. Every human being is under the jurisdiction of the infinite source. Everyone. I'm an atheist, you're being held by here. I'm a theist, you're being held by here. I'm a scientist, you're being held by here. I'm an anti-scientist, you're being held by here. Right? Why? Because you can't be without being. The teachers knew that. That's science. This is being, reality. So you open this by saying there's a terror of reality. Because I have my world. I live in a biblical space, and I know that God is the creator of the universe, and we live in people. We're good people, and we want to have ethics, and we want to avoid evil and do the right thing. We want to have democracy. We want to have dialogue. We want to have meet each other and have mutual respect. But there's something deeper that's tripping it up.
Yes. No matter how badly we want to be all one and to be in harmony and peace, and we're not wrong to want unity and oneness in the deeper sense, but we can't get there. We don't know how, because we can't do it with our Lego wills. We can't do it in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Period.
All the teachers do that. You can't will your way into that. You can't hack your way into this.
Diversity or unity. They're both.
That's right.
They're both out of reach.
This is true diversity. In love with unity and diversity. That's why people say here that diversity makes us stronger. Yeah, I mean, diversity makes us. No, not for me. I don't want your otherness on me. Right? In my space, I want my space. Right? You get out of here. You got to get the immigrants out of here. Get the foreigners out of here. Xenophobia, this fear of the other. Right? So let's cluster together and have our homies here. Right? We want our space. We want our unity, not an alien unity imposed on us. We've never tolerated that. Because I'm feared of one world government, even though ironically you're already being captured and colonized. All the people are under the colonization of software that we have to examine critically, which is our greatest gift of having a choice, the freedom in the biblical tradition of choice. The choice to be here or here, not here or here. This vote, yes or no, right? Is that a choice? Yeah, but that's not free will. When you're under the captivity of mental mind and word virus, malware, slavery. That's a severe thing to say, but that's been, so if you use the language of sin is being cut off from source.
Right.
Samsara is being cut off from source, east and west. Samsara is a cycle of repeating absurdity, of emptiness and suffering and alienation from Atma, from Om, from Brahman, from Buddha,
reality.
From the unified field. Yeah. This is the unified field science. And physics wants to find the unified field of nature. Nature here is profound. It's sacred. So when you enter into this place, you're going from a monologic, privileging this. You can't get dialogue here. Dialogue, meeting is deeper. Any meeting here, love here is not the same as love here. Double bracket love is deep intimacy or marriage, is where the otherness is unbridgeable, self and other. It's not codependent. It's independent and yet in love, and yet bound. That's ethics. Ethics for mature humans and culture and the demos, people, is here. This is the human space. When we're surfing the zone of being. And the notation, language here is living now. Here it's dead words on page.
AI. Yeah.
That's what it's AI. Ancient AI is one of our earlier episodes. So cyber AI is already within AI. It's just an accelerated AI in the computer cyber logic. And the cyber logic is part of the ASA logic. 0-1 alterity that's the programming is one of the expressions. So AI is just a refined acceleration of AI. And if the greatest super quantum AI here is still not going to be the place of love and freedom and human dignity and rationality and intelligence. You can't AI God. You can't AI Christ. You can't AI Buddha. You can't AI Om. And even though we think we can, I can do Om here. Sure, I'll show you how I'll do. I can do God. I'll create God. I'm going to be self-referential. I'm going to be self-corrective. I can do kind of a scientific program of self-corrective, and that's a sign of intelligence, right? Maybe not. So we don't even know how to differentiate between AI, mechanized calculative thinking, and meditative source intelligence, right? Where you have to somehow see this, become mindful, a critical, mature, rational being. This is reason. right? And enter into dialogue, and there now culture begins. That's a non-violent
Yes.
space, self and the other.
Yes.
And you can be respectful in the alterity and diversity without worried that you're getting swallowed up by something else. You become autonomous now. You're autonomous. You're volunteering. Your freedom is here. You're a free-range human being. So all of your fears and worries and phobias here are ironically backfiring on itself. You want unity, you can't have it here. You want diversity, you can't have it here. When you go here, now you've got diversity. Why? Because the fabric of the infinite unum is infinite pluribus, diversity. Unity and diversity without popping into Legoland and Lego pieces. And the crossing into a deeper form of literacy and notation. Words here are not dead written on a page or uttered with a voice, this voice, or written or minding here, right? It is alive, it's living. And so in the Christian, when John is saying in the beginning is the Logos, and the Logos became flesh, and Jesus is speaking the Logos script, he was the Word, he was the way, he was Christ consciousness, it was Christ's zone, it was the Logos, it was a unified field. Christ is not here, right? So Christ up, the resurrection, is exactly the moving here. For example, we just got through Easter, right? A planetary event, and the Pope just died yesterday, right, to the Catholic Church. Right, and people are honoring that, rightly honoring that.
And one of the things he's left us with is to love one another in our differences.
His legacy, right, is tending to the less disadvantaged people and lifting people up and tending to the poverty and diversity and so forth here. But that's what all the great teachers have been calling us to do this. So there's a phobia of unity. Unity here is divisive, it divides. You get it? Mm-hmm. So United States, check it out. United Nations, check it. How united are we in the United Nations? In dialogue. The United Nations here, that's a different institution of awakened demos people across borders and diversity, meeting in ethics and respect and mutual. So you have your diversity here. You don't give up your diversity. But you don't go to war in silo spaces and Lego pieces.
Yeah.
It can't come together. So if Abe Lincoln, use the American analogy, you can, a more perfect union. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, that kind of talk from Abe Lincoln. If Abe Lincoln were here now, looking at the global situation and the state of USA in that lab, who would find the more perfect unum? Who would call the people in our devastating titanic self-deconstruction to meet in the place of unum pluribus, e pluribus unum? The mantra of America is not here. It's pluribus unum, out of the many one, without giving up your uniqueness and integrity and individuality and creativity. And diversity doesn't compromise you. It complements us. Now we can understand it. Don't be afraid of diversity and don't be terrorized by unity. This is the healing place for humans. This is the demos. We the people here, people power across the planet, all people, the human family. That's whom we're speaking to. You use USA as an example, but because it has a certain spotlight around the globe, we can go anywhere. We can go to the Middle East, in Gaza and Israel, and say, we the people. We can go into Russia, Ukraine, we the people. We can go to India, vast diversity, we the people. We go to China, we the people. Right? Europe, the Euro situation, we the people. Wherever you turn on the planet, for Africa, South America, we the people. No more dictators and tyranny and violence to one another, but non-violent human space. This is human space.
So we shouldn't be afraid of unum pluribus. We should be afraid of not letting
of unity.
We should be,
we should be terrorized of unity and diversity.
Yeah.
Right.
So guys, think of unum pluribus as we wrap up. Think of these are really good words. We use them a lot because as all words get desourced and turned into dead signs for a word, no matter what the word is. It could be a positive word or a negative word, love or fear, whatever, but they're all downsized, And so one of the we often like to find these words like unum being a deeper meaning of unity, of oneness, of togetherness, of being to being one with the flow of each other and all of nature and reality. And pluribus, the sacred difference, being able to harmoniously move in that space of unum. So pluribus and unum, hold on.
It's the same concept. It's the same concept.
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
A concept. It's not a concept. It's a logos brand, the logos brand.
Yeah, there you go.
And again, Nathan, what you're saying is any word here, flat words, dead words.
Yeah.
You take any word here, like I, and put it here.
Whoa.
Yeah. Or space, right? Space is just one another Lego piece. You put space here, it becomes so spacious. Right? You take time here, which is broken and busted and artificial, and you put time here. Oh my God! Right? It's the now is boundless. It's infinite, and we have songs about the infinite now. And love is forever. It's over here. It's infinite. Right? So that's it. From flat, dead words to living words.
Yeah.
That are holographic and inseparable from the field.
Yeah.
So the words themselves surf being. They're surfing being.
I'm almost moved to say like that, to make that upgrade. And this is an ongoing practice for the rest of your life, to just keep upgrading these words, is to not just upgrade the language, it's to upgrade yourself, to upgrade your consciousness, upgrade your mind. It's like going from a normalized asphyxiation that we don't even know we're in, to finally being able to breathe, to live, to be in the way that we're meant to be. So we don't even realize. I was just watching a comedian. I'll leave with this thought because I feel like we could both go on forever. But he was talking about.
Who did you say you were doing?
Huh?
Who did you say you were referring to?
I think it was Bill Burr. I was just watching a clip.
Okay, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear
YouTube. That. Yeah, I just said a comedian, but
okay.
In any case, he was talking about depression as like universal. Obviously I'm paraphrasing and translating it into my words, but there's a normalized depression to the point where we say, oh, well, that person's depressed, but I'm not depressed, or that person has clinical depression, but I don't have clinical depression. We have those ways of differentiating, but the whole space is depressed. That's that line in the middle of the page of the hologram there. The whole culture, the whole matrix of our fraught world is depressed. And that's why, there's sayings like from Krishnamurti, it's no measure of health or well-being to be well-adjusted to that, to be well-adjusted or to be successful within that. We have to denormalize the depression of our cultural trance to realize, oh my God, this is so the end message I want to leave you with is, be not afraid. This is the most exciting thing ever. We're phobic of the unum pluribus because we don't understand it, and we don't know that there's this higher dimension of ourselves. So we feel like it's a death. We feel like it's a demise of some kind, but actually it's liberation. It's the beginning. That's where we can start to breathe and be and live again, or for the first time, perhaps, really.
And I would just add, it's all right here where we are already. That's why
it's already here.
The infinite field is making this possible. We couldn't have the red technology without the blue technology, because that's a unifying, that is a source and funding. They're funded. The red zone is funded by the source, but it's not honoring it.
Right.
And it's infinitely here already. It's right. When you say the kingdom of source is at hand, it means it's right here now. Mm-hmm. You can't push it away. The red zone can't keep it out. Mm-hmm. The red zone, the captured space, couldn't be without the being. You can't be without being. And every point here already. So wherever you are, you're already there.
Yeah.
It's civilized here.
Yeah. So you can't keep it out. It can't keep it out, but it does subject the user of that technology, that code, to being oblivious to it.
That's exactly.
That's a very sad. That's a depressing place to be.
It's tragic. Yes,
it's tragic.
And it's been going on for millennia. It's been going on despite the teachings. The teachings didn't understand how to get the technology, and the technology of the source. Mm-hmm. The source of science. We have source science now. This is huge. Oh, so that's good news. No, I'm not talking news here. Source science blows everything away that's been familiar. This is something new. This technology, understood as a shift in technology of consciousness from here to there, right? This is the greatest news imaginable. You're right to end on that positive note.
It's not changing what we're minding about. It's changing our minding altogether. It's changing how we're minding. It's how we're being. It's a much deeper shift. It's not a paradigm shift. This is more of a dimensional shift, for lack of a better word.
It's an inversion from putting this first to putting first. So it's not conversion to change your lens and change your story and change your paradigm. It's much more profound. It's changing your technology of being, putting first. First science means honor first as first, which means what? Don't privilege a derivative. Don't privilege your will over what's first. Dare to flow with the will of the infinite flow. Surf the flow, surf reality.
And that's freedom. That's
right.
Real autonomy.
That's right.
That's real freedom. That's what we're really looking for. So,
Wow.
wow.
We covered quite a bit. I think we went over a little bit. But
yeah, it was worth it, though. It was totally worth it. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you stuck with us. And we're going to be back again and again and again. Just keep surfing with us. This gets easier and easier to integrate, and you start to activate that deep innate natural intelligence, I'm going to call it. That's already in every single one of us. We just need to activate it, and we need to call out the interference of the Lego machine, the objectifying mind that got implanted in us just by osmosis. Anywhere you are on the planet, we all got it. So this is an equal opportunity thing. It's a matter of committing to the journey, putting what's first.
So thank you, Dal, for bringing that up, because again, this is for all our human family across the planet. We're not addressing any one culture or one local setting. This is for all our human family. Everyone across the planet has to come to terms with, am I under the infinite source? All of us. And that's the unobservers. And this has been missing. And this is what's going to finally bring the human family together on this planet.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
We are the people who were promised for this promised land. Everybody worldwide. We are the promised people. We are the people, yes, so welcome to the promised land.